Let's admit it to ourselves. Cars are considered a necessity nowadays. It's no longer just for show, but it's something we use daily. But let's face it, the vintage and retro cars ruled the world before, and it's still something that amazes us today. Here are the top 15 most aesthetic vintage cars. Top 15, 1971 DETOMASO Pantera. It's a hot automobile built in the 1970s as an alternative to the Lamborghinis and Ferraris of the day, featuring a V8 engine and a sleek Italian design. This car was unquestionably a worthy opponent. Although it attracted plenty of well-deserved attention wherever it went and sounded as loud as it looked, its hybrid engine, which combined American brilliance with Italian design, was far simpler to operate than its rivals. While the Pantera was known to exhibit corrosion after being exposed to time and the elements, it also had a distinctive T-shaped logo emblazoned on the grille, the same logo that the DETOMASO forefathers used to name their livestock on their ranch so many years before. Nothing a competent technician and a quick coat of paint can't fix. Depending on who you ask, one of these bad boys may cost as much as $85,000 when used, so if you discover one of these Italian Panteras for sale, it will be more reasonable. Top 14, 1963 Porsche 356. Porsche is a German automaker producing high-end sports vehicles for almost a century. That means it's not really that much of a surprise. But the 1964 Porsche 356 may not have the same sleek appearance as the Porsche models tearing through the streets today, but in the swinging 1960s, anyone driving out of these cars was the talk of the neighborhood. Due to its compact size and light weight, this two-door vehicle handled itself quite well on the road. It had a rear engine and a rear-wheel drive and was offered with both an open and hard top. The 356 looks like it could be in any vintage film with high-speed car chases when it could accelerate from 0 to 60 in about 12 seconds, which isn't the fastest by today's standards, but back then it was pretty impressive on the track. However, finding one today may be a little bit tricky. Roughly 76,000 of them were manufactured during their 1960s production, but the catch is that only about half survived. That is a rather unusual discovery. Top 13, 1917 Datsun 24OZ. Without visiting the land of the rising sun, we can't have a list of the hottest automobiles. A Japanese sports car with plenty of horsepower and an opulent interior that won't break the bank is a 1970 Datsun 240Z. In the years that followed, it also cleared the way for other Japanese automakers including Toyota, Honda, and Nissan to win the hearts and minds of Western consumers. While none of these elements were created by Datsun, they did perfect them and could implement those systems better than anybody else. The car comes with an overhead cam engine, disc brakes, and independent suspension. This car, often known as the Z car at the time, was the ideal vehicle for summertime joyrides. Many vintage automobile fans might not even refer to it as a sports vehicle as it functions so well for daily use, making it as adaptable as it was attractive for coast-to-coast excursions. Although Steve McQueen may not have preferred it, at roughly $3,600, it was undoubtedly a more economical option for collectors and speed enthusiasts. Top 12, 1977 Ferrari 308 GTS. There are prancing horses all over the interior and outside of this automobile as if to warn other drivers of what they're up against. Alternatively, you could consider it one of the quickest and largest ads in the entire world. In either case, the 1977 Ferrari 308 GTS is a stylish classic car. Beneath the hood of this model, you'll see a V8 engine driving 4 camshafts so it purrs instead of screams as you go down in the highway. This model was fiberglass, just like a Corvette or a boat. Even though the 1977 GTS's fiberglass body made it lighter, simpler to manage, and even repair than some of its steel body competitors, you won't notice a loud purr when you're in the driver's seat. Most of the dashboard are covered in lovely poofy vinyl, and the speedometer has been set to 180 miles per hour. To avoid looking back, you may drive this stunning antique car into the distance. Top 11, 1967 Chevrolet Camaro. This car should make you feel like a comrade or friend, which most people aren't aware of. The Chevrolet team was working on what would eventually become the Mustang's rival for approximately 2 years. This car came with a lot more style and power while Ford was crushing it with their Mustang. It accelerated from 0 to 60 in under 8. Thanks to its roaring 180 horsepower turbocharged V8 engine, this car was a 4-passenger car with a front subframe, front engine, and a rear-wheel drive body made entirely of steel. Even after accounting for inflation, the price of the car when the automotive giant produced it was around $3,400, which is relatively inexpensive by today's standards. The Chevrolet Camaro was attracting attention long before it was morphing into a robot on the big screen like the version we are familiar with today. However, several examples were produced in the late 1960s and are still available online. Top 10, 1968 Fiat 124 Spider. The Spider is a stylish car with its electric premiere at 1966 Turin Auto Show. It was designed by American expat Tom Chiharda and Italian Pininfarina, who drew inspiration from the Corvette and the Rondine. The Spider was a cutting-edge vehicle at the time, equipped with a 5-speed transmission, 4-wheel disc brakes, and an easy-to-use soft top for those times when you want to soak up some sun and feel the wind in your hair as you race down the track. These specifications were a much appreciated departure from the typical English sports cars of the late 1960s, which typically used jump brakes, overhead valve engines, and much bulkier convertible tops that required tent-like assembly. It is also at a lower price point today. You can get some for less than $10,000 online, although it could be challenging to find and more expensive if you want it to be ready to use. Top 9. The 1959 Austin Healey 3000. This car is a sleek sports automobile, but its name makes it sound more like a supercomputer. Introduced in 1959 at the London Motor Show with the iconic yet very aesthetically pleasing bulbous shape, this car was unquestionably a swinging 1960s automobile icon. The best racers of its era, including Pat Moss and David Siegel Morris, chose this type because of its nearly unbeatable structural strength, superior performance, and excellent handling. They sped by a lot more of the advanced and most expensive sports car of the era as they careened across alpine passes speeds of 75 miles per hour. But the fact that the engine could be improved while still being produced at a lower cost contributed to the car's uniqueness, making it a faster and more cost-effective option for rally racers and thrill-seeking collectors. It was impressive for a vehicle older than your parents because it accelerated from 0 to 90 in 26. Top 8. 1964 Aston Martin DB5. Making a list of the most stunning antique vehicles without mentioning the car suitable for Her Majesty's Secret Service. We're referring to this specific Aston Martin, which James Bond favored. Although the standard model does not include machine guns or defensive measures, this DB5 is still a top-notch car. It had an expanded all-aluminum engine, 3 SU carburetors, and a new and upgraded ZF5 speed engine that allowed it to reach 145 miles per hour, which is the ideal speed for a quick getaway. The inside and exterior is also amazing, with reclining seats, wool-pile carpets, and full leather detailing were all interior features. While we'd never encourage drinking and driving, this automobile may be ideal for pulling into the driveway after work, popping a bottle of champagne, and unwinding with your favorite Bond lady. You'll not leave this antique automobile shaken, not stirred. Top 7. 1969 Boss 429 Mustang. The Ford Mustang is unrivaled in American muscle, and the 1969 Boss 429 was no exception. The chrome ring around the radiator grille and the steel beam headlights are the first thing that draw attention to the outside of the Ford Mustang. These changes were necessary to accommodate their new competitive engine, given the car's classic appearance. The rectangular-shaped Mustang has a thin rounded front bumper that wraps around the entire front end, and then an air vent on the front of the car gives it a sporty, fast-moving appearance. To put it mildly, it is an intimidating appearance for a sports car. Still, if you pull up the high school parking lot on one of these, you'll instantly become the coolest kid on campus, especially if you have it painted on the distinctive raven black shade. Once inside, you'll find vinyl seats and a beautiful wood trim dashboard. Top 6. The 1963 Corvette Stingray. The Stingray has some rather long waiting list to be purchased. Although you might consider the vehicle to be a sports car today, it first appeared on the scene back in 1963. It also demonstrates a successful touring vehicle produced in response to the era's fast and fashionable European automobiles. In terms of performance, handling, ride comfort, habitability, and even trunk room for any time you want to take a quick trip, this Stingray's 300 brake horsepower engine allowed it to attain a top speed of 118 miles per hour. Given that the engine and spare tire are located in the back of the vehicle, this may be one of the few design flaws. Still, when creating one of the most stunning automobiles, you occasionally have to make little compromises, even though there is still room for a rear passenger. It was preferable to drive the Corvette Stingray solo down the highway or with only one friend following close behind. Top 5. The 1966 Alfa Romeo Spider Duetto. This car is recognized as a design classic and stayed in production for over 3 decades with very few alterations. Movie enthusiasts may know this addition to the list as the car Dustin Hoffman's character drove in the film The Graduate. It's no secret why the compact, svelte Spider Duetto, an Italian-built 2-seat convertible with more precise steering, sensitive brakes, and a precisely balanced chassis, has since grown to be a cult favorite. Since this car had the same price tag as the quicker Jaguar E-Type, it shouldn't have surprised anyone that it sold well over 100,000 copies in fewer than 30 years of production. Sometimes appearances are everything. Its more contemporary style and excellent specifications made it one of the best sports cars out of post-war Italy, earning it the moniker "Poor Man's Ferrari." Nevertheless, we'd take a 1966 Splitter Duetto any day. Top 4. 1969 Dodge Charger. Previous version desperately required a facelift. Therefore, the Dodge Charger was created to address that requirement, but the printed product was far superior to anyone's expectations. The Corvette was the sole significant rival for the Charger in 1969, yet the former managed to outperform it in terms of design and performance. It kept American muscle's dynamic and contemporary appearance despite having a longer wheelbase and more seats. The Charger's design soon gained popularity in a race vehicle since it's more aerodynamic and has a super stylish spoiler and truncated tail. To keep things simple, the chassis could support stock and drag tires for the vehicle, which could accelerate from 0 to 60 in less than 5. At the time, the car looked as impressive as fast as bat out of hell. The perfect car to make everyone behind you eat their dust was the pinnacle of American engineering and creativity. Top 3. 1966 Lamborghini Miura. The 1966 Lamborghini Miura is a Spanish fighting bull, just like the Miura. The safest vehicle on the road was this bad boy with a 430 horsepower V12 engine in the back and a 5-speed transmission. No, but it was undoubtedly one of the most lovely. While the Miura was primarily designed for the streets, surpassing Ferrari in sales and reputation was the only thing that mattered to the people at Lamborghini. And boy, did they ever when they entered the American market. While the Miura was both ambitious and unusual, the manufacturer had wanted to see it become a racing car, which regrettably never happened for the Lamborghini. The idea was practically accomplished with a simple, innovative yet sharp design that connected all the moving elements together nicely. Top 2. 1962 Ferrari 250 GTE. Local police in Italy in the 1960s struggled to apprehend criminals during high-speed pursuits because their vehicles just hadn't kept up with the times, let alone the bad guys. Sounds like the storyline of a corny B-movie, but that's why they chose the Ferrari 250 GTE to find the crooks. The police purchased these quick vehicles. The GTE was equipped with a brand new V12 engine, a redesigned chassis, and bodywork. It also has a top speed of 120 miles per hour. This car became one of Ferrari's best-selling and most cherished designs ever. The vinyl interiors allowed a sizable amount of space for the maximum comfort for drivers, both civilian and police enforcement, who would rip and roar through the streets despite the factory price of over $12,000 and the design being both sleek and compact. Recently, one of the black Italian police versions went on sale. If you want to get ahead of any traffic so you can drive as fast as you can to the grocery store, the police lights are still functional. Top 1. The 1958 Corvette C1. Even while the Corvette wasn't the powerhouse as it is now, what else could it have been? With their 1958 C1 model, they were able to transform the automobile. The company, at last, received the attention and money it deserved because it was the fastest automobile on the road and completely dominated the racetracks. Because of how fantastic this car started, Ford had to reevaluate their new Thunderbird. More than ever, the standard had been elevated. Although it was pretty sleek and opulently designed, as you sat down inside, the speedometer, which goes up to 160 miles per hour, completely took over the dashboard. Not to mention the gauges tracking the engine temperature, battery charge, and even the oil and gasoline levels, which gave you the impression that you were a racing car driver. When the driver pressed the gas hard and quickly moving from 0 to 60 in under 10 seconds, there was even a grab bar for the person riding shotgun. And that is all for today's video. We hope that the car enthusiasts enjoyed today's content. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you in our next video.